Hello and good evening, everyone. This is Ankit. I'll be your trainer for the day.
Yeah, hi Ankit.
Hello. So let's give a couple of minutes. Let's see if anyone else is about to join, and then we'll start with our session. All right. I think then let's begin with our session. So welcome everyone to the first session of Python. My name is Ankit. I Let me give a short introduction about myself. I have been a senior data scientist and I've been working in the field of data science for almost 10 years now. My work spans across the domains of retail, finance, and healthcare. I've been majorly working in Python and I'm madly in love with Python. I think Python is the best language that could have ever existed. That is how much I enjoy working in Python. And I hope by the end of all the Python sessions, you have similar feelings on Python. With that, let me set up the agenda for the day. Since we are all working online, let me know if you have any doubt, like any question that you have with respect to the topic that we are going, feel free to put it. However, I would recommend that let's see, do we have any chat option? If we have a chat option, let's put it in the chat. Let me initiate the chat. So what we'll do, if you have any questions, if you have any errors that you're facing, let's make it a habit to put it in the chat so that we can resolve as many questions as possible for as many people as possible. Second thing is, do not hesitate if you have any question. We will go with the motto that no question is silly. Also, let me know if my voice is loud, audible, and clear. Throughout the session, if you feel that there is a drop in the volume or if there is a disconnection which is happening, just let me know. So, is my voice loud, audible, and clear?
Yeah, it's clear, Ankit.
Okay. All right. And the last part is, since we are all learning online, sometimes it may happen that there's a disconnection on my side because of Wi-Fi or power drop. Just be patient, hold on for 30 to 60 seconds. My power backup will kick in and I'll be back. Now with that, let me know a little bit about yourselves. Uh, so the basic thing that I want to know about you is how many of you are from the programming background? Programming or non-programming? You can put it in the chat, you can mention in the Zoom meeting, anything is fine with me. Okay, so let me ask this question. I'm going to assume that all of you have some programming background knowledge. If that's not the case, just let me know. All right. With that, let us then begin with the Python session. If we will mostly program and we will mostly learn by doing codes. So Python being a programming language, I think that most of the learnings that we are going to do should happen with the help of hands-on. Programming is not something which you study theoretically separate and programmatically separate. Your concepts will become clear when you implement them with your own hands. So I will strongly recommend that whatever hands-on code that we do during our sessions, we will try to learn all the concepts by doing these hands-on codes. But I would recommend that every one of you maintain these documents, run all the possible codes. If there is additional time, if let's say some students are left behind, some of them are still doing it, then the others who have completed, I would give you time. I would give you different use cases to play around. But try maximum codes during the session. All right. So we will be using Jupyter Notebooks. If you do not have Jupyter Notebooks, what we can do is we can use Google Colab or any other IDE that you're comfortable with. So I can use both Jupyter Notebook and Google Colab. Now, I see that we have one non-programming and we have ETL background, not into Python. Okay, great, no worries. So let's me then begin with Python. Let me see if the whiteboard works as expected. We will be using whiteboard and Excel sheets to understand the theory. And what we will do, classes, we are going to set up a pace based on the batch. Right? In the beginning, you might feel that the pace is very slow, but I feel that in the beginning, you need to have your basics clear. You need to have very strong foundations. And as and when we move ahead, I'll slowly increase my pace the moment you become comfortable with programming. Right? Let me see if this whiteboard is as suitable. All right. Now, let me first, I see a few more students who are joining. Let's begin then with our session. So we will start slightly with theory. We'll start with first what is Python. Right now, Python in simple, and we are going to dissect the definition of Python throughout the session. See, theoretically, I can tell you that Python is a high-level programming language. Then you will see at some places what you have is that Python is a scripting language. Then at some places you will see that Python is an object-oriented programming language. So all these statements are true. Python is a high-level object-oriented programming language. Now, what is high-level programming language? Let's understand from the perspective of machines. Can you tell me what do machines understand? And we'll keep the sessions as interactive as possible, class. Right? So let's discuss how do machines understand. And let's not talk just about our computers. When I talk of machine, it means any machine. What is the language that they understand? They understand numbers. They understand zeros and ones. When you talk about your CPU, everything that they understand is in terms of numbers. When you talk about any other machine, take for example your washing machine or your television or your advanced machines that are available, the supercomputers, everything that you take into consideration, all of these computers, all of the machines, they understand numbers. On the other hand, we humans, we understand languages. We have a proper semantics, we have proper grammar which is present. There is alphabet, there are numbers, there are different characters which are present. When combined together creates words which we communicate with each other to express ideas. Now, computers cannot understand the human languages, and humans, it is very difficult to understand what a programming or what these numbers are, right? So there are certain languages such as C, you can talk about Fortran. There are a lot of languages in the past that were specifically created to communicate with the computers. These were called as low-level programming language. The most famous example of low-level programming language is the assembly language, which has its own syntax. It has its own, it's a new word which is only understandable by computers. And there are specific developers who understand what they are writing, who understand the semantics of this language. And it's very difficult to grasp, to write down functions, to write down any program with the help of assembly language. It requires a lot of practice and it's not easily debuggable. It's not maintainable. It's a low level programming language. Machines can understand it quickly, but humans cannot. So what is high level programming language? This is a programming language that came into existence to help humans communicate in a better way with machines. This language is easy to write, it's easy to understand. These languages have good syntax. You can debug the codes, you can maintain the codes, you can create different files and so on. So Python is one such high-level programming language that is very simple. And throughout the session, you will realize that it is as simple as speaking English. Right? We are going to talk about a lot of concepts and the names of the functions, the way they execute, the way they work, everything is very simple. It's as simple as speaking English. This is something which I think after a couple of sessions, you will all start feeling that Python is a high-level programming language. And the second part is called as object-oriented programming language. Object-oriented programming language means that everything in Python is associated with objects. So whenever you do anything, you might simply write down a number, you might create a list, or you might go ahead and store data in forms of data frames. Everything is done with the help of objects. Your functions are called with the help of these objects. Now, both these concepts will become clear the moment we go ahead and implement them. So let us do one thing. Let us start with a very simple program. We are going to write down our first code. So people, if you are aware about any programming paradigm, can you tell me generally if you open any book, any tutorial for any programming language, what is the first code that you will write? Can anyone tell me what that would be?
Sorry, Ankit, I missed it. Can you please come back and
Sorry, no worries. No. So can you tell me generally whenever you start with a programming language, what is the first code that you write? Have you heard about the famous
hello
hello?
world?
That's right. That's perfect. Hello World is the first program that everyone, if you want to start learning any programming language, may it be Java, C, Python, anything, people start with Hello World, and so will be. So I would request every one of you to open a Google Colab or a Jupyter Notebook. Do you guys have Jupyter Notebook? If not, then do not worry. You will, everything will be installed in your systems. If not, then I would request everyone to go to a simple website. Let me share my screen. Let me share the screen. Sure. So go to Google and open Google Colab. So I want, okay, so this is what we are going to do, class, right? Let us set up how we are going to learn. See, there might be chances when I'm sharing my screen, I'm writing some code or I'm explaining something. At that point of time, I want everyone to pay attention to my screen so that you follow the steps, you look at the concepts, you see what I'm doing, because I'll be pointing out at a lot of things that I'm doing. So I would request everyone to pay attention on the screen when I'm teaching something, I'm writing some code, or I'm explaining some concept. After that, I'll give 30-40 seconds for everyone to implement those codes on your own. If there's an error, we will resolve. Otherwise, we can move ahead. So you all can open Google Colab. Just search Google Colab. The website is collab.research.google.com. Let me share this link with you in the chat. So people who want, they can. People who want, you can directly use this. And now I want everyone to come back to the screen again. See, this is something which you can see. Go to file. It's very simple. It's an application which is very similar to what you have in your system. You can go and you can simply click on file and click on new notebook, or you can do upload notebook. So generally, I would suggest everyone go and do a new notebook. Everything will be saved in your drive. So if you see, if you open one notebook, a new tab will open and you can execute your codes here. Let it load. Till then, let me save this. Okay, so once that notebook opens, you will be able to see this particular screen where you can start writing your codes here. This button, which appears like a play button, will be used to execute a code, and you can use this code to insert a cell. So let me write down the first code in both Jupyter Notebook and my Google Colab Notebook. So as we discussed, we are going to use our first function, which is called as print function. So this is one of the inbuilt functions. We are going to study a lot of functions, inbuilt functions. We're going to create our own functions. But before that, I wanted you to try out the first unset rule of programming. Try out the function print hello world. So the moment I do this, let me tell you what this is. This is your input cell. You can see IN here, both in both your Google Colab and in your notebook, Jupyter Notebook. The moment you execute this, I can execute it by pressing Shift Enter, or I can execute it with the help of run. The moment I do this, this part, which is between the two cells, is the output cell. Okay. Now, I want all of you to go to your notebook, either Google Colab, or if you have Jupyter, or if you have any other IDE. Let's go and try to print hello world in our codes. Let's quickly do that, class. Let me know once done as well. And let me know, class, whatever question you have. If you are unable to open a notebook, if you are, oh, I see some of you are already done. Great. All right. Vidya is done. Let's see. Vicky is done. Great, great. Let me know. I see a few more students. Okay. So class, I'll need responses from you to understand whether you're done or if you're facing any issue. So I'm going to tell you one new rule of let me say binary, or but I think most of you are going to work in data in future. Absence of any data is zero, and zero generally means no. So if you do not respond, I will assume that the response is zero, and I'll make an assumption about that response and move ahead. Okay. So if there is an issue or if you're facing any problem, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll make an assumption that we are all good and I'll go ahead. All right. With that, class, let me quickly start with a new code. I want everyone to please come back to my screen. As I mentioned, this starting couple of sessions might be slow, but we'll pick up pace based on how the batch is performing. Now I'm going to do one simple thing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to execute my first code, which is 10 plus 5. This is done so that you become familiar with how the Python IDE works. So this is the first operation that I have performed. This is called as 10 plus 5, which is an addition operation. Now, the operation is very simple. What I wanted to tell you is how to perform commenting in Python. Now, you can simply add a hash in front of a statement and you can add a value. So I'm going to say add two numbers. So let's understand what is happening here. I have given a comment saying add two numbers. For Python, what will happen is it will ignore this line. Whatever lines are commented, whatever piece of code is commented, Python interpreter will exclude those lines from execution. These comments are added for us humans to understand what we are doing. So today we did 10 plus 5. This is a very simple piece of code. But tomorrow, let's say when you write down functions and programs, which are thousands and thousands of lines, you might keep forgetting what you have done. So comments become very handy in such cases wherein you can give a hashtag in front of any statement. So if you want to see what I can do is let me write that this is a Python class. If you see, I have not added anything and this is working as a code. If I execute this, I will get an error because this is not a proper Python syntax. What is this? For me, this is a Python class is a comment. So what will I do? I'll add one hash in front of this statement. And what do I get is a comment. You will see that the entire text becomes indented, indicating that we have done a comment. Now, let me also tell you the shortcut. People who are interested in using shortcuts while programming, you can use control plus forward slash. Your control plus forward slash will create a comment and it will also be used to uncomment. Do you want to quickly try this out? Add two numbers, try out the comment, and you can use any mathematical operation. We have done two things here. We have done a comment and we have done an addition operation. Let's quickly try this out. And let me know if we are good till now. This will help me to pick up the pace for the batch. Good, great. All right, if you are done, try out a couple of more mathematical operators. Class, if you are done, I want you to try out a couple of more mathematical operations. Let me say add is done by using plus operation. Subtract, we all know that is done using minus operation. Multiply is something. Can someone tell me in programming, how do we multiply two things? What is the character that is used to multiply two numbers? Division, we all know. It's the common thing. It's the forward slash. Anyone can tell me how do we multiply? I'll give you 1 minute. Star, that's perfect. Perfect, Vicky. Perfect. That's correct. Star. If you are done, I would want you to try out a couple of more arithmetic operators. These are the arithmetic operations which are available in Python. When we say arithmetic class, it means that these are the mathematical operations. Let me know once you're done. Done? Great. We will go into the details of as many operations as possible. See, the beauty of Python is that it's a very, very vast language. There are everything and anything that you want to do is possible in Python. You can build websites using Python. You can perform simple calculations using Python. You can implement statistical modeling using Python. So there are infinite number of things that you can achieve with the help of Python. We will cover as many of them as possible. Right? So we will, don't worry, we are going to go into as many operations as possible. But before that, let me take you through something called as variables. Now, what we are going to do next is declare a variable. All right, and let me say a equals to 10. Now, I want everyone to please come back to the screen. We are going to dissect a code which is a equals to 10. We are going to define our first variable. Now, a equals to 10. If you see, this is called as a declaration of variable, and in terms of operations, this is called as an assignment operation. There are a lot of other assignment operators as well, but this is called as an assignment operation. Now, going forward, I want you to remember something till if someone comes to you and asks you this question, you should have this answer at the tip of your tongue. This should become embedded in your minds as a subconscious statement. And that is, whenever there's an assignment operation, which part of the code will be executed first? Always remember that in case of an assignment operation, the right-hand side of the assignment will be executed first, and then the left-hand side. What does this mean? Let me repeat. I am saying that whenever we have an assignment operation, the right-hand side of your assignment operation is executed first, and then the left-hand side. So what does this here? If you see, I have created a statement a equals to 10. Now let's understand in terms of Python memory what actually is happening. I'm saying that the right hand side of the assignment operation will run first. Let me share one Excel and let's see if we can. Now let me zoom this. And let's say I have executed a code a equals to 10. Now when I execute this code, what happens is Python first goes to the right hand side of this assignment operator. It sees that you have to create an object of type integer, which is called as 10. I know I'm using a lot of big words, but by the end of this session, you will become very comfortable with all these. Let me repeat. So Python comes and looks at this. It sees that this is an assignment operation. It goes to the right-hand side of your assignment operator and sees that you have created an object 10. So let's understand what Python will do in the background. Python will go inside its memory location. It will try to find one empty memory location. So let's say I'm going to call that memory location which is empty as 9CF. So this is the memory location which is empty. There is nothing stored in it. Now in that case, what will happen is, Shubhalakshmi, I'll request you, can you go ahead, please? Thank you. Okay. So let me repeat, the right-hand side of the assignment operation is 10. Python goes inside the memory and starts looking for an empty memory location. The first empty memory location that it finds, let's say, is 9CF. What will Python do is it will create an object 10 here. So what it has done, class? It has created an object 10 inside Python memory at an empty memory location. Is everyone good till now, class? Are we good till now? The right-hand side of your assignment operation says that you have to create something called as 10. Python goes inside the memory, looks for an empty memory location, and says, let's say 9CF is empty, it will assign 9CF as 10. Okay. All right. Now, what will this A happen? Now this has happened. What is the next step? In the next step, Python says, let's go to the left-hand side of this assignment operation. The left-hand side of the assignment operation says, assign this value to a variable A. So in the list of variables, Python will add one variable which is called as A, and it will start pointing to the memory location, which is this. All right, so what has happened? Let us look at the entire cycle once again. I am doing an assignment operation wherein I am assigning or rather declaring a variable. I am saying A equals to 10. Python sees this is an assignment operation. It goes to the right hand side of the assignment operator. It says that, okay, I have to create an object 10. It goes inside the Python memory, looks for an empty memory location and creates an object 10. Then it comes back and sees what is present at the left hand side of my assignment operation. That it sees is the name of a variable. This A is called as a variable. So it says, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that whenever you're trying to access A, please go to this memory location and return back whatever is stored in this memory location. But the moment I say this, what will happen is if I try to print the value of A, let's say I say A or print A, we will understand what is the difference between A and print A. But the moment I do that, what will happen? Let's understand. When we execute this is a code which Python, when encounters, it does a simple thing. It goes inside your Python memory. It goes inside the Python memory and it will bring back your value stored at this particular value memory location. So it says, okay, where I am supposed to go? I am supposed to go to A. So A, it will try and look for A. It will go and look at the memory location. It will bring back the value which is stored at the memory location. And you will see that 10 has been returned. So you will have 10 here. A is a variable and 10 is an object. That is correct, Vicky. That's completely correct. So here A is the variable that has been assigned the value 10. Basically, when you do this A equals to 10, 10 is stored somewhere in the memory and A points to that memory. When you do print A, Python goes inside, looks what is A pointing to and brings back the value which is stored in that memory location. So what we are going to do, class, we have declared a variable. We will go back to our notebook and we are going to execute this code. Please remember, we have been talking about what happens in Python memory. And the reason I told you what is happening in the Python memory is because it's important for you to understand a lot of future concepts. This is the foundation. A equals to 10. I can simply say write A equals to 10 and then print A. The value that A stores is 10. This is the most simplest explanation. But what happens internally within Python memory is something which makes your basics and foundations strong. So when you do an assignment operation, right-hand side is executed first, A equals to 10. When you print the value of A, Python goes inside its memory, looks at what is A pointing to, or what is the value which is stored in the memory location that A is pointing to, and it will return back 10. All right. So now I want you to give two variables, A equals to 10, B equals to 20. You can print the value of A, you can print the value of B, and you can see what is happening. Now, what I want you to do is, after you do this, I want you to perform the 4 arithmetic operations again, but using A and B. Assign A equals to 10, B equals to 20, and perform the arithmetic operations using A and B. So, what we have done, meanwhile, when you do this, let me tell you in the background, what we have done is we have declared a variable. Declaration of variable means that you're creating a new object, which is called as 10 or 20, which will be stored in the memory, but you're not going to access that element with the name 10 and 20. You need to give some name to that object, and the name to that object is called as an identifier, and in this case, the identifier is called as the variable. So the different objects that you will be creating in Python memory have to be identified by certain names. Tomorrow, or may not tomorrow exactly, but in future, we will be defining classes. The classes, when you define an object of a class, you need to give some name. When you define a function, you need to give some name. How is that function identified? By its name, right? So these names are called as identifier, and the objects that you're creating can be identified with the help of certain variables. So let us quickly create two variables, A equals to 5, A equals to 10, B equals to 20. and perform mathematical operations. Let me know if you face any error. Basically, what I want to do is I want to perform a plus b. I want to perform a minus b, a into b, and a divided by b. And let me know, do you observe is there any specific observation that you have with respect to any operation? Done? Great, great. So, Vinay, what are you using? Are you using Jupyter Notebook or are you using Google Colab?
I'm using Google Colab.
Google Colab? Okay, great. All right, Vinay is done. Let me know so that quickly once you are done as well. Done? Good. Any observation on division? Any observation on division? Let me say if you do B by A, what is the output? You get 2. Any specific observation? Float. That's right. So did you observe that whenever you perform division, Python will always return back a floating point number. It will always return a decimal number. And that makes sense, right? See, because Python will not know whether you're going to give a full fraction or are you going to give a division which will return back decimal numbers. So by default, whenever you perform any division operation, Python will always return back a floating point number. Now, before I move ahead to some other operations, we talked about variable, right? So let me give you certain conventions for variable. How do we name a variable? Now, the first convention that I would say, let's say that you can have alphanumeric values to name your variable. Now, let's understand what does the alphanumeric mean. Now, alphanumeric means that you can have alphabets, you can have numbers, and you can have a special character underscore. That's it. A to small z, then capital A to capital Z. You can have any number, you can have any number from minus infinity to plus infinity, but it should be an integer. When I say number, it means it should be an integer. And the last thing is you can have underscore. When I say underscore, it means generally whenever you see usernames, you cannot use spaces. You prefer underscores to differentiate between two words. So whenever you are creating a variable, you should always use alphanumeric characters. The second one is that your variable name can start, let me say, can start with an alphabet or underscore. What does that mean? What can't it start with? If I can start a variable name with an alphabet or an underscore, what cannot it start with? It means that it cannot start with a number. The other interpretation of this statement is that you cannot start a variable name with a number. And the third one is no special characters are allowed apart from one which is underscore. That's it. Now, after this, I'm going to give you one more convention, which is not a right-hand thumb rule. Python will allow you to do that, but I would give you a warning, or not even a warning. Let me say a word of caution. How to name a variable. Now, I have said that you can start, your variable name can contain anything. Let's test this theory. Let us test. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give number 1. Okay, I say number 1 equals to 20. Let's see, will Python allow me to? Yes. Python did allow me to declare a variable number one, which has the value 20. So when I said alphanumeric, this particular variable consists of alphabets and it consists of a number. Let me give a better combination wherein I can take a capital N, let me take underscore and one. And this I'm going to assign it as 30. Python is allowing me to use this as well. Great. So number one is 30. Next, I am saying the next thing is that it can start with an alphabet. Good. I'm also saying it can start with an underscore. So let me say underscore A is equals to 40. And let me check if underscore A is printed. So underscore A, the second one, which says that it can start with an alphabet or an underscore, is also acceptable. Let me say underscore 1. What do you think, class? If I give underscore 1 is equals to 500, will it work? Do you want to try this out? I would want all of you to try this out. Let's try out different ways of naming a variable. It got printed. That means yes, underscore 1 is an acceptable naming convention for a variable. And see, the rule number 2 says it can start with an alphabet or it can start with an underscore. So when you give a variable name an underscore 1, it becomes valid. All right. No special characters allowed. Try giving a variable name with some special character class. Try giving a variable name with a special character. Give something like number, let's say dollar or something, $4 is equals to 567. Will it run? It will give you a syntax error. Yes, yes, it gives you a syntax error. That's it. Now, apart from this, okay, let's give 30 seconds for everyone to play around. Try out different combinations which can validate all these rules. And let me know once you're done. Well, I'm assuming everyone is done. If not, let me know. After that, I want you to try one thing. See, if you have given number 1, I want you to execute capital number 1. Exactly same, but with a different, let's say, number. And then print this number 1. If you print the small number 1, it will still give you 20. And the variable name with uppercase N or a capital N gives you 5802. Which brings me to one of the fourth naming convention, which will stand true for your entire course of Python. That is that Python is case sensitive. Please remember that Python is case sensitive. So your capital A, small a will be stored as two different variables, will be treated as two different variables. Right? Your capital number, small number will be treated as two different variables. If someone says, if I say, if you look at this function print, you would have observed that I wrote down the entire word in a lowercase. If you give capital P, this will throw you an error, saying that Python does not understand what this capital P print is. You need to give the exact value indicating that your Python language is case sensitive. This is the right and thumb rule. These are the 4 major conventions for naming a variable. Now, apart from this, I have my own rule, and that rule is class. Although for learning, we use a lot of variable names such as A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z, so on. But in real life, when you go ahead and when you start writing production level codes, always remember to give the names of the variables so that it makes some sense. Now, if you're defining a number, give the variable number. If you're defining, let's say, a salary of a person, give person underscore salary. You should always name your variables. You should always name your identifiers in such a way that it makes some sense. The reason why I'm saying this is what happens sometimes, let's say you write down a function or you write down a program with 2000, 3000 lines, and you have used a variable A, you have used a variable B and C. When you go back, you will forget what is A, what is B, what is C. But let's say A was salary. You can keep referring it to salary. In terms of business, it will also make sense and it will make programming for you easy. If some other programmer comes to your code, wants to refer it for any purpose, they will be able to see the code and understand what you're trying to do. So naming it in a proper way so that the variable names make sense not only makes the code beautiful, it makes it easy for the developer to write and refer, and it also makes it understandable for the other developers. Now, with that, there is one thing which is called as keywords. So variable names should not be keywords. Now, there are certain words in Python which are dedicated for a specific purpose. So if you see the print which I have written here, and if you are trying to write it in your Google Colab, you will see that it comes in a different color. Whatever you write in your codes is different, but the keywords will always come in a different color. These are the words which already have certain meaning. They are already associated with certain functionality within Python. So we do not want to give the names of variables the existing keywords, right? You should never give the names of variables as the existing keywords. You should always avoid it. There will be a lot of conflict. Sometimes Python will not allow you. Even if it allows you, you should not do. So never use the keywords as your variable names. Do you want to make note of these 5 naming conventions? Do you want to make note? You feel free to make a note of this. And if you want, you can always play around and try it out. In case you're done, let me know. I'll give you something to play. If you're done, let me know. I'll give you something to play around with so that you can keep practicing. You need not wait. All right, I see students are done. A few students are done. Let's give 30 seconds for everyone to complete. Done, great. Oh, so in that case, I want you to, we have been defining numbers. Just for your reference, I want to give you, let's say, name is equals to Python. So we have been assigning numerical values to variables till now. You can define any value to variables, a valid value. What are the different valid values or what are the different valid objects is something which we plan to see in some time. But name equals to Python. You can always assign this name as a string. Please note, this is something which I'll repeat in future when we study the inbuilt functions for strings. But please note that whenever you're defining any string in Python, you always encapsulate it in a single or a double quote. Any one of them is fine, but I am assigning a word or a string Python to the variable name. So name will be treated as variable, but on the right hand of the side, you are defining a string, always encapsulate it in a single or a double quote. We are going to define a lot of strings in future. Got it. So I want everyone to please come back to my screen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to define multiple variables in a single set. Right? So I'm going to say A equals to 10, B equals to 20, C equals to, let's say, 30. And the moment I do this, I'm going to print A, B, and C. Now, if you see, I have defined A, 10, B, 20, C, 30. I am trying to print A, B, C. What do you see? It will not print the values for A and B. What is it printing? It is printing the value of one variable, which is C. And this is the last variable. So what happens actually, classes, whenever you're working on Jupyter Notebook or when you're working on Google Colab, any notebook for that matter of fact, what will happen is this will see what happens in your output cell. First, the value of A was printed, but then you printed B. So the value of B overwrote the value of A. And finally, when you printed C, the value was overwritten by 30. So in such cases, you will always see that the last value has been printed. Now, how can you avoid this? Let me tell you one different way. You define A equals to 100, B equals to 200, C is equals to 300. Either you can print A, B, C in the same line. You see, you will get a comma separated value of A, B, C. Or you can also use print A, print B, and print C. So print will explicitly print the value on your output cell. Print will explicitly print the value on your output cell. So when you just type the name of the variable, you will see the last variable value will be printed, whatever was the last statement. Apart from that, you can print a comma separated value by simply giving the names in a single line, or you can use the print function. Print will explicitly print it on your screen. Now, to answer your question, Vinay, no, there is no difference between single or double quotes in Python. Python will understand both. If you give a value in single quote, it will assume it to be a string. If you give a value in double quotes, it will say it's a string. No difference at all. Let me know once done. All right, I see that a few of you are done. In that case, let us then move to a few other operators. I see some of you had asked some operators, so let's move. A comma B comma C. If you try to execute this code, I think you will get an error. Do you want to try it out? I think most probably you will get an error saying it will not understand what is comma. It's still giving you the last output. Okay. It's still giving you the last output. Cool. So in that case as well, see A comma nothing, B comma nothing, it will still print. So if you remove C here, you will get 20 comma, which is the last. So even in that case, you will always get the last value which is printed. You need ABC in the same line to print all three values. Does that answer your question? Yes. Okay. So let's move to some other operators. Now, before I move ahead, we have already seen addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. What I'm going to tell you is, you did, let's say I give one number one as 50 and let's say num2 as 30. We would have done this num1 plus num2. Now what I'm going to say is, you can assign this value. Let's combine the two operations. You can assign this value to a new variable. Now, what I am doing here, class, let's dissect this code. I am taking two variables, number one and number two. I am performing an addition operation between the two. But do you see that this is an assignment operation? Do you see again that this is an assignment operation? What will Python do? Python will come to this code. It will go to the right side of your assignment operator. It will first complete the execution of the right side. So it will go to the right side. It will take num1 plus num2, calculate the value 80. So now what has happened is total equals to 80 is what Python sees. And that 80 is created inside the memory and assigned to a variable called as total. So if you print total, what you will see is 80. Similarly, if I give diff, all right, let's give full name difference. I can give num1 minus num2. Again, Python will come execute the right hand side of your assignment operator. Calculate the value 50 minus 30 is 20. Assign that 20 value to difference. Right? So you can always assign the output of an operation to a new variable. Let's quickly make a note of that as well, because see, for today it might seem a very nice and overwhelming. With time, it will become so used to you that you will start defining variables left, right, and center. Assign the output of an operation to a new variable. Let me know once you're done, class. Let me know once done. Done. Okay. Now I want you to everyone to come back to my screen, please. Let's see a couple of new mathematical operators. We are going to first look at exponent. Now let's understand what exponent is. If we go back to our school, exponent was also called as raised to or power operator. So let's see what is the power operator. If I want to see what is 3 to the power 2, I can calculate it with the help of the exponent operator, which is double star. So this is equivalent to 3 raised to 2, which is 3 square. I can give, let's say, 5 raised to 4, which will give me 625. Similarly, 2 raised to 10. Can someone tell me what will be the value for 2 raised to 10? It's a famous value for a lot of programmers, graphic designers. Anyone can tell me what will be the value of without calculation, class? Without calculation. Do you know what is 2 raised to 10? None of you? Anyone? 1024? That's right. 1024 is a number because 1024 bytes make 1 kilobyte and so on. 1024 KBs will make 1 MB. 1024 MBs will make 1 GB and so on. All right. So your exponent operation is double star. You can always use double star to calculate the exponent value. It's also known as raised to. You will then see what is floor division. Since I see someone had asked what is floor division, let me take you through floor division. Floor division is nothing but, in simple terms, it will give you the value of quotient after division. So let's say if I do 5, if I divide 5 by 2, what will be my quotient? My quotient will be, well, let me use some better number. If I divide, let's say 13 by 2, my quotient is going to be 6. Similarly, if I divide, let's say 28 by 5, my quotient is going to be, let me use 4, 6. My quotient is going to be 4. Because 6 fours are 24, your remainder is 4. Similarly, 2 6 are 12, your remainder is 1. Now we have looked at the quotient. We should then by default, we should have certain operation which will give us the remainder. That is called as the modulus operator. The modulus operator will give you the remainder after division. We will take the exact same values. Instead of double forward slash, we are going to use percentage. You see, if I divide 13 by 2, the quotient is 6 and the remainder is 1. Similarly, if I divide 28 by 6, my quotient is 4 and my remainder as well is 4, because 6 into 4 is 24 plus 4 gives me 28. Let's try out these two operators, the floor division, exponent, the modulus. Let me know if you have any questions with respect to these, or anyone, if anyone is facing any error, let me know. If you are done, you can try out different values. You can try out different values using the same operations. You can perform certain mathematical operations for the sake of practice. Let me know once done, class. I think we should be done. Let me know if anyone is not done. Let me know if anyone is not done. All right. So I want everyone to then come back to the screen, please. Everyone, please come back to the screen. We are going to look at something called as comparison operators. Okay. Now, Whenever you compare two things, the output is either going to be true or false. So let's say, let us print our num1 and num2 values, and we see that they have 50 and 13. Now I want to check if num1 is less than num2. This is the comparison that I'm doing. What is the comparison here? Is num1 less than num2? Please remember that for all comparison operators, the output of your operation will be a Boolean value, which means it will either be true or false. Now, is num1 greater than num2? No. So the output, oh, sorry, yes. So the output will be false. Is num1 less than num2 of the operation? So if you want to check is num1 greater than num2, this will become true. So we have less than, we have greater than. Similarly, we have a lot of values. We have less than equal to, and we have greater than equal to. Then we have double equal to, which is your actual equal to operation where you're checking if the two values are equal. And then we have not equal to. Please note that there is no space between the two. There is no space between the two. This is something which, let me add it as a operation. So let's say if I do num1 less than equal to num2, I will get an error. The operators are exactly one after each other. There's no space between less than and equal to. Let's quickly try these four operators as well. Let's try the six comparison operators, num1, num2, less than, greater than, less than equal to, greater than equal to, then we have equal to and not equal to. You can also try it out on different values. For example, you want to check num1, is it less than equal to, let's say I can test it with the value 50. This will become true because it is exactly equal to. So in less than equal to, one of the conditions have to be true. So you can compare two variables. You can compare a variable with an object because internally variables are pointing to certain value. I can check if num2 is equal to 30. It will give me true. I can check if num1 is equal to 100. This should give me false. Similarly, not equal to num1 is not equal to 256. This will give me true because it is not equal to 256. Rather, it's equal to 50. So again, remember we have 6 comparison operators and the output of any comparison operation is going to be a Boolean value. These values which you see true, false, these are called as Boolean data types in Python. Let me know class once you're done. Done? Great. Great. Okay. So with that, let's move on to the next concept. And since we have already spoken about data types, I just mentioned that the output of a comparison operation is going to be a Boolean data type. Let's start looking into different data types which are present inside Python. So the first data type, we have already looked into it. We have seen something called as number. Let me use num1 again. And I'm going to say this is the value. This is called as an integer. Integer can range from -infinity to +infinity. It can have any value. Okay, now how do you check the data type of a value? So I'm going to tell you one function which is the inbuilt function to check what is the data type of a particular variable or an object. The function type, please note that this is a function. We are going to study in detail what functions are. But for the time being, a function is something which will give you an output and is always associated with a parenthesis. Please note that a function is always associated with a parenthesis or round brackets in simple language. I can give the name of my variable, I'll say num1, and it will return that the data type of num1 is int, indicating that num1 is int, is storing an integer value. Similarly, the second numeric data type that we have is called as float. Float is nothing but it will store any decimal point value. I can say num2 and I can assign the value whatever I want with however decimal points I want. If I print num2, you will see it will give me that value and type of num2 will be returned as float. So type is a new function that we have seen. Type is a function that will give you the data type of any variable. The two data types that we have seen, which are supported in Python, are integer and float. Integer can store any value, which goes from minus infinity to plus infinity. It should be an integer. Floating point number stores, or it's a data type that is decimal numbers. It can store any decimal number. I think we are done. If we are done, then let's look at the next data type, which is called as strings. Let me know if, yeah, I see someone has already pointed down. Great. Now, see, we are storing and we were talking about integers. We were talking about floating point numbers. We were talking about decimal numbers. Similarly, when we want to store a string, string is nothing but a textual values. And we have seen previously that anything and everything that is encapsulated within single or double quotes is deemed as a string by Python. So let's say, let me use something like place. Let me say place is equals to and assign a value Bangalore. So place is a variable that stores a string called as Bangalore. Let's check this out. I'm giving type place. It will give me str. Now I want everyone to come back to the screen and tell me that what does this function do? Actually, let me number of characters in the string. If you want to get the total number of characters inside the string, you can use a function which is called as len. Now, class, this len and the function type, the length and type functions are common for almost all variables or all objects that you have within Python. This is applicable to all the objects that you can create. You can calculate the length of any object within Python. In case of a string, it will give you the total number of characters which are present inside the string. So let's quickly define and declare a string, test out its type, and get the length of the string. Length will return the total number of characters which are present inside the string. Well, now let's look at some other inbuilt functions. There are certain functions which are already available for strings. We are going to look at these string functions. The first function that we are going to look is called as count. Now, what does count do? It counts the specific number of, or let's say counts a specific character count. It will give you the specific character count. So let's see what we'll do. So I'll go to place, I'll say in place, count how many times do I have the character A. The moment I do this, you see it will return 2. Why? Because the value Bangalore has 2 A's which are present inside my string. So place.count is a function that will give me the specific character count, or it will give the count of a specific character within that string. If you are done with this, I would want you to try out place.count capital A and let me know what is the value that you get. Logically speaking, what do you think should be the value? Logically speaking, what do you think should be the value? Any idea, class? If I'm trying to find capital A in the word Bangalore, what should be the output? Should I get 0 because there is no capital A? That's right. That's right. Perfect. So if you try to find a character which is not present inside your particular value, inside your particular string, you will get the output as 0. All right. After this, let's do one thing. Let's define a larger string. Let's define statement as equals to, this is a Python class. A print statement. I will get this. Now, length of the statement. Now, class, I want you to pay attention to this thing. If you see, the length of the statement comes out as 22. Now, why I am pressing at this 22? Because if you see the number of characters which are present, 4 plus 2, 6 plus 1, 7, 7 plus 6 is 13, and 13 plus 5 will give me 18. So the question is why I am getting the length as 22. The reason here is I'm getting the length as 22 because anything which is present within this quotes is considered to be a string. That also means space. So it has calculated the 4 spaces as individual characters. Space is considered to be an individual character and is counted as 1. That is why, although you see that the actual number of characters apart from space in this string are 18, the total length of your statement is 22 because it has taken into consideration your spaces as well. So when you deal with strings, you can have anything and everything. You put special characters, you do anything inside the string, everything will be treated as a string. Now, before you go ahead and try this out, I want you to understand one more function. That function is called a split function. Now, what does split do? I want everyone to come back. I know that you already tried out length, so I want you to take you through split. Now, split is a function that will split the given string on the specified delimiter. This function splits the string on the specified delimiter. Now, what does it mean? Let me directly do statement on dot split and show you what is happening. So you see, this is the statement, this is a Python class. The moment I execute statement dot split, this is a Python class. It has split this statement on a default value, which is space. So everything which was before space and after space has been treated as a single element. You see, this is a Python class, indicating that if you do not specify the delimiter, the default delimiter is your space. Otherwise, you can define a specific delimiter. So let's see. Let me define a new statement. Let me say statement one is equals to, and let me say, you can use any quote. Let me say this. India is my, let's use the, India is my country. I love my country. Okay. Let's see what will happen. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this statement on the basis of a character which is comma. Let's understand what will happen. The moment I do this, what does the split function do? It will split the string on the specified delimiter. Here I am specifying the delimiter as comma. So everything which is before comma will be treated as one part, and everything which is after comma will be treated as the other part. Now, if you see, we have two things which have been returned. Everything before comma, which is the text India is my country, and everything after comma, which also includes this space, because as I mentioned, space is also treated as a string because it is present inside your text. So everything from space to I love my country will be treated as a delimiter, as a split after the delimiter. You can also try, see, there is no limit on what you want to split on. You can split on any special character. You can split on any character, in fact. Let me give, do we have M? Yes. Let me give M. Now, if I split this statement on M, what will happen is, you have to remember like this. Before split, if I want to split on M, everything before M becomes one part. After M will be the next part till I encounter the next M. If I execute this statement one, let me say statement one dot split, you see India is and a space has been returned back. Because before the first M, you have this part of the string. After M, you have by country, you have till Y love space. And immediately after M, you have Y country again. So what did you observe, class? That whenever you're performing a split, you get everything before and after the delimiter. The default delimiter, that is, if you do not specify any delimiter is space, you will get the statement split on the basis of space. But what do you observe? That the delimiter is never a part of your split. Everything before and everything after the delimiter is returned, but the delimiter itself is never returned. Let's quickly try this out. Let's quickly try this out. Let me know if you have any questions. If you do not have any questions, I'm going to make an assumption that the concepts are getting cleared, that you are getting all things that we are learning. And let me know, class. See, if I generally make this assumption that you are doing the hands-on, if you are not, let me know so that I can go on to the next topic as well. Because I've seen in some batches, a lot of students don't want to perform hands-on. However, I would strongly recommend always do this hands-on. This is how we learn. This is how we become a good programmer. We are done. Great. Let's give 30 more seconds in it for everyone to complete. And meanwhile, Vinay, what I want you to try is I want you to try to split statement one on semicolon. Try to split the statement one on semicolon. Let me know what do you get. So Lakshmi is also done. People who are done, try to split the statement on semicolon. That means you do not have a semicolon here. You have one separator which is comma, but I want you to forcefully try and split on semicolon, even though the semicolon is not present in your statement. Let me know what you get as the output. Let me also try along with you. If I use the same statement, if I try to split on semicolon, what do I get? I should get the string as it is back because Python was not able to find this delimiter. So it returned the same input as output perfectly. That's right. All right. Now, before I move ahead, I would want to quickly tell you a new concept, which is associated with this string. But let me quickly show you. So let me write down B A the variable that we had looked at, which was your place. So I want everyone to come back to my screen, please. Everyone, please come back to my screen. We are going to learn about something called as index. Now, if I talk about the string, which is place is equals to Bangalore. Now, if I talk about this particular string, place is equals to Bangalore, let me add these strings because if I do not add these strings, Python will give me an error. So these are the different characters. Now, if I ask you in very layman terms, if you ask any person out there in this world, which is the first character, you will say, okay, the first character in Bangalore is B, which is correct. But you, my friends, are not a layman now. You are going to be a programmer. So you always have to remember this, that indexing in Python always starts with zero. Your first character is B, but what we say that the element or the value at zeroth index is 1. Your first index is A, your second index is N, your third index is G, and so on. So what do we see? Indexing in Python always starts with the number 0. It indicates that my first index is, so the index, or let me put it like this. The value at the first place is the value at the 0th index. You never say that B is my first value. B is the value which is present at 0th index. So everything in Python, whenever you have a sequence of characters, a sequence of numbers or arrays, in future data frames, whatever you want to speak, whatever you know, this indexing will always start with 0. You will never say that this index starts with 1. Indexing in Python will always start with 0. So now, if I ask you, what is the element at, let's say, if I want to know what is the position of G, class, what will be the position of G for me? If I tell you I want to know what is the position of G, what will be your answer? Your answer should always be the index value. And the index value in this case is 3. So if I ask you what is the position of, let's say, A, your answer will be 1. Now the question is what we are trying to do. Okay, before I move ahead, is everyone good with indexing? See, indexing is important. Let me repeat, indexing in Python always starts with 0, indicating if you have a sequence of characters, if you have a sequence of numbers, arrays, data frames, your counting, your indexing will start with 0. Now, I am saying, please remember this. G is present at index 3 and A is present at index 1. So I'm saying that the position of G is 3 and the position of A is 1. So if I go back to my notebook, let the notebook load. I think it's still not loading. Yeah. So if I go back to this, to see place, print place, this is Bangalore. And if I do place dot find within this place, if I want to find particular character, which is G, I think we looked at G. So let's go ahead and see what is G. You see that the output is 3. Although G is present at the 4th position, but please remember that the indexing will start with 0. So if you want to check this, let me do this. Place dot find, do capital B, and you will see that it says that capital B is present at the first index. So we have seen it. We have seen two things now, class. One is the indexing in Python, and the second is the find function, which returns first occurrence of a character. your find will return the first occurrence of a character. Why do I say first occurrence class? Because if you see there are two A's which are present in your Bangalore. Still, if you see, it will only return the value of the first match. So what it does, Python goes inside this particular string. You want to see where is A, it will go first character A, no, second character A, yes, yes, it will return. So if you see place dot find, and if you do A, you will see that it has returned the value 1. So a new concept, indexing in Python always starts with 0, and a new function find that will return the first occurrence of a character. Okay, I see a question, how to split without removing the mentioned character or int. So we need to answer your question. The idea or the objective of split is to split it on a character, right? So if you want to get the values along with the delimiter value, in future we are going to study for loop. I'm not saying it cannot be done. There is nothing in Python that cannot be done. It can be done. It will require certain higher concepts such as for loops, majorly for loops. So once we go through for loop, I think you can play around with your string and do anything with it. But this inbuilt function will return the value before and after the split. All right, let's quickly try this function find class. Let's quickly try this function find. Do you, any one of you have question? If find returns the first occurrence, what returns the last occurrence? I want to see where is the last A. There is a function for that as well. People, if you are done, you can see R find, which will return the last occurrence. So basically it returns the first occurrence, but from the right side. That's why R find. Last occurrence. If you execute place.r find A, it will give you the value as 4, as opposed to find, which gives you the first occurrence. So you see 0, 1, it will give the first from left to right. R find will give you the first from right to left, but it's easier to understand that it gives you the last occurrence. All right, class, we have one function to go before we call it a day. Vinay is done, great. We have one more function to do for strings. And once we are done with strings, in the next session, we can start with lists, sets, and tuples. But before we call it a day, I would want everyone to come back to my screen, please. Everyone, please come back to my screen. So I have this statement which is present, right? Statement 1. I think statement 1 is not defined. Okay, statement 1. Okay, statement 1 is this. This is the Python class. Now let's say I want to remove the word Python and replace it with, let's say, Java. So what I can do is I can use a function called as replace. And this function takes as input two things. See, replace is a function that will take as input two things. The first thing is replace the word with another word. So the first word should be the one that you want to replace. And again, remember, since Python is case sensitive, it should be an exact match. So let me say Python, and I want to replace it with, let's say, Java. The moment I do this, you see that Python has been replaced with Java. If I give some character which is not present in my string, there will be no change in this string. But if there is a match, your first word is the word that you want to replace. Your second word is the word that you want to replace it with. So statement.replace Python, it will replace the word Python in the statement with Java. But I want you to pay attention to one thing. If you see your statement is not changed. See, this function replace will not change your statement. It will replace Python with Java, show you the output, but the actual statement is not changed. Meaning, It's not modifying your underlying, excuse me, it will not modify your underlying variable and will not modify your underlying object. So if you want to get this in a new different, you want to get this in a different variable, what you can do is assign it to a different variable. That's it, if you want to reuse it. But please note, this is something which we will come back to, but statement.replace does not change or modify the underlying object. It will just return back the output that you will see. So replace is a function that will replace, let me say, rather than word, replace a string or a substring with another string and substring. Let's talk technical. So it will replace a string with another string. So in this, it will go and identify Python, find it, replace it with Java, but it will not modify the internal object. Let's quickly make a note of this. I know we are 5 minutes over the time. But I think with that, we can call it a day. Let me save this file. The next session, we can start with lists, sets, tuples. We'll look at dictionary. We'll look at the inbuilt functions which are present inside them. All right. Okay, so with that, let me call it a day. I hope class you enjoyed this session. More importantly, I hope you learned a few things. Your concepts are clear. The foundations and basics are clear. These are Python basics. Slowly, if these become clear, we can move on to intermediate concepts. All right. Thank you, everyone. Let me know. Do you have any questions, class? Do we have any questions before we call it a day? Any questions with respect to the topics that we have seen today? All right. Great. All right. Thank you, everyone. Then have a great day tomorrow. Hope to see you again. Bye bye.